We're with Dr. Eran Lerman. We've been watching the disturbances that are underway in Iran. How could this ultimately, if it continues, will it impact Israel and the West and indeed Iran's strength in the region?
It should, and hopefully it would. The assumption that somehow the Iranian regime enjoys the support of its people has always been a very fragile assumption, and I think it's now being put to the test. And the more the international community lends its support to the people who are exposing the nature of the Iranian regime as a dictatorship, the better. The idea that somehow we should all shy away from telling the truth because that might be used by the regime to accuse the protesters of collaboration with the West, that's nonsense. They will accuse them anyway. Anyone who questions the authority of Ali Khamenei is a traitor by definition, so in the eyes of the regime. So we need now to let this clearly enjoy the support that was not given to the rebellion in 2009. How will this affect Iranian policy? Well, if there is a real overthrow or a massive movement emerging, then of course Iran could become a very different place. But even if the regime survives, the message is very clear. The cost of their adventures in Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Yemen has depleted the Iranian treasury, has meant that the money that was supposed to reach the people went into overseas adventures. This is loud and clear in the message of the demonstrators.
It seems like their message is very similar to what the American message was in the last election. In other words, Iran first. We're wasting our money on supporting terrorism, throwing our money away in Syria. What about Iran? Is that a good appraisal?
Yes, and I'll take it a step further. What is Iran? What is the regime? Is it a state that cares for its people? Or is it a revolutionary project which ultimately subjects its subjects to the needs of revolutionary expansion? This is a very important question for Israel as well, because Iran as a state, the Iranian people are not our enemy, have never been our enemy. The Iranian people has no interest whatsoever as such that contradicts our needs and our interests. It's all about the revolution, the fantasy that the Iranian Shia revolution will do to Israel what all the Sunni regimes have failed to do. This is what drove Khomeini and now Khamenei into investing huge amounts of money into Hezbollah in Lebanon and so on and so forth, trying to take hold of Syria, threatening to destabilize Israel and on the way destabilize Jordan. All of this is a revolutionary project. If the Iranian state comes to its senses and acts as a rational state in the world arena, then this is very important for us and very good for our future.
Dr. Lerman, as we know, it is a dictatorship in Iran run by fanatic Islamic clerics. Won't they use all of the means at their disposal to put down these protests?
Yes, they would. But I have a sense that the Revolutionary Guards, the IRGC, the Pasdaran, which used to be very fanatical and committed to the interests of the regime, has become corrupt, has broadened its ranks, has taken in a lot of people, young people who come from the ranks of the people. Ultimately, will they turn their guns on their own? Maybe, maybe not. It's a high risk. It's always been the risk of everyone in history that rebelled against dictatorships.
Dr. Eran Lerman, thank you so much for being with us at WIN News.
You're welcome.